Welcome back to the Comics Cube, everyone. Today I am back with Geoff Thorne, and we're talking Avatar: The Last Airbender. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, baby.
we're talking Green Lantern.
We are talking Green Lantern.
We are talking Green Lantern. How are you doing, Geoff?
I am, well, we were just off camera. I am happy to be fully vaccinated. I wish everyone who can be to do so, and everyone who's sitting on their hands understand that there are people who want that vaccination that can't get it yet.
Me.
Yeah.
Me.
So if you can get it, freaking get it, because there are people in this world who are still suffering waiting. Please do get vaccinated. You're saving other lives when you do it, not just you. That's how I'm doing, baby.
Well said. The last time we spoke, you said that we should talk after Green Lantern #1 because you said that things are going to happen after Green Lantern #1. But then in the interim, I spoke to Marco Santucci, who said you should wait until Green Lantern #2.
After 2. So Marco's not wrong.
And Marco is not wrong at all.
No, he's a madman.
Before we get there, the last time we spoke, we only spoke about Dexter Soy. How did Marco get involved?
You know, the thing with Marco, I did not know his work. I did really when they mentioned him to me. Oh my God, he's freaking amazing, that guy.
He's really
good.
Where
has he been all my life? They say, well, what we're going to do is, DC had decided that they wanted it to be a big, the Green Lantern is going to be oversized. Like every issue is going to be, I think, 30 pages. So I was like, that's a lot of pages for, like, I thought it was going to be 22, 20. You see a trend, right? I think I'm going to be doing one thing. And then DC's like, oh, we're going to do it like this. It's like, okay. But that put a lot of work on Dexter, right? Who had sort of just come in. And this all got sprung on us. So we were like, well, let's get someone to cover half the first issue because you've written a cast of thousands and all this crazy stuff happens. And the fastest artist in the world is still going to be, it's brutal. It's a brutal thing to make them draw. And I was like, hey, cool. I got to trust you, editorial. My call was Tom Raney. And everybody else, you guys do your thing. Like even my call was their call, but I suggested Tom. And they're like, yeah, let's get Tom. Everybody else they brought in, and I went and looked at his work, and I was like, this guy's kind of amazing. How come I don't already know who he is? And the reason is he was just drawing books that I wasn't reading, so I would never know his work. But Marco is fast. He's freaking amazing, as you can see from his work. And one of the things that all the artists on this book do that I like, they all act. Like all of the characters actually, their expressions change from shot to shot, which you think wouldn't be a big deal, but it turns out it kind of is. And so, yeah, I think he's phenomenal. I have rarely worked with a better partner. Like, I would love to meet him someday. He's in Italy.
He is,
but I would love to meet Marco. He is just a phenomenal freaking artist. I feel like even with all the crap I'm making these poor men draw, I still don't think I'm taxing his abilities. Like that sequence with the Guardians in the holographic chamber talking to John, I was like, I'm watching a movie right now. And that was when the freaking pencils came in. Like when I was looking at the pencils, I was like, holy crap with this guy. Oh man. And he makes
solid. He's so solid.
He makes adjustments very quickly as well, like little things that the audience wouldn't know, but I'll be like, oh, you have to make sure of that, or you can't do that yet. That's not until, don't show that until issue 3 or 4, that we don't want to see that yet, or whatever. Things that are there, but we don't want to see it yet. And he'll very, like instantly, like he'll read the email and then it's turned around like that. Like this guy is a freaking madman. Like,
he's a beast.
He's a beast.
And
they all are.
Yeah, I'm really glad he's on this book actually, because I think the disservice to him has been that he's kind of been jumping around on various projects. It's kind of nice to see him on a regular.
Team together. My recommendation to the editors was These are our three guys. I don't think we need any more people. If anyone needs to rest, there will be two other people to take up the slack, basically, right? And we're going to put them through a lot. But now that the audience has seen Tom, seen Marco, and seen Dexter, I don't need to see any more new artists. Like,
Yeah.
let the audience just, these are our three guys, these are our colorists, this is our letterer, these are our letterers. That's it. You know?
I'll tell you what. I'm usually really good at picking out artists, and for these pages, I can almost with some accuracy tell which ones are Dexter's and which ones are Marco's.
Well, it's a hold on. Let me.
But there are pages where I'm like, I don't know which one this is.
Well, just for your own sake, it's half.
Yeah.
So
exactly
it's basically
half.
we split the book in half, exactly half in the first two issues. That worked better in issue one because of where this. No, in issue one, it was specific pages. Whenever we were inside the chamber of the voting, that was all Marco. Everything outside the chamber was Dexter. In issue two, everything, we just split the book in half. We just, all right, on this page, you're just going to do the rest of the book. And so we had the dragon fight, we had the funeral with Dexter, we had the dragon fight with Dexter. And we got all the way. Oh, and then we had the Guardians firing and reassigning everybody. And then, as John's flying away, everything after that is
Marco.
Yeah.
So is there any pushback or dialogue between them saying like Dexter got all this fun stuff to draw this issue, and I've got.
I don't think so far. I mean, if there is, I'm not hearing any of it. If anything, Marco's very eager to have more to do.
Yeah. He's
like, the only contact I've had from Marco is, okay, I'm done. Can I have some more pages? So shut up.
Did you see
right over here?
Did you see his latest post? His latest post as we speak. It's a drawing of Beast Boy, and he says like, I'm working on drawing Beast Boy as I wait for the latest Green Lantern script.
You know what? Fuck you, Marco. Oh my God. I'm working 3 jobs. Give me a break. But yeah, he's fantastic. I actually, what you want is artists who make you want to step your game up. So like you'll hand off the plot to the editors and they're like, okay, approved. But when you sit down to write it, you're like, okay, now that I know who these guys are and I can sort of see the edges of their abilities. Like I already knew what I was getting with Tom. And even with Tom, he's better than I remembered him being. So wait till you see what he's doing. Like, anyway. But yeah, so with Marco, once I got a sense of, oh, we're not pressing him. We're not taxing him at all. Like nothing we've asked him to do has pushed his abilities at all. So let's add some more, right? And he's like, yes, give me more. Not just page count, because that's probably about money. But but story-wise, he's going to get more to do. Everybody's getting more to do. Dexter stepping away for a minute. Tom's coming back in, but you're going to see these artists push to their ability. Like now that I see what they can do, they're going to do it. Basically.
Yeah, I said in issue 2, he gets this long talking scene with John and the Guardians, but he also draws a massive explosion. So.
Oh, and the thing with the starship that I specifically wrote, knowing it was going to be Marco, I was like, Marco, make sure the audience knows that this is meant to be iconic. I want this ship to be something everybody looks at and remembers.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I said.
Then he designed it.
These shapes, and that's his design. Everything you see on that is design, and you're going to see some. Just like almost all of the costumes, there's only one costume that I designed.
Okay. Which one?
The guy in the white. The guy in the first. The guy who comes up and gives John a little tip, a little helping hand.
Oh, the one who talks to him about the Starheart.
And all that.
Yeah.
That design is mine, but everything else is either Dexter designed Uridian. I just said fairy princess made out of water. Do your thing, right? So that's what we got there. Tom did almost all of the designs. he designed everything in Future State for sure, and going forward, all of the designs, wardrobe wise and things like that, will be him. We're revamping a couple of alien races. That's all him. I just said, make them look rougher than we're used to seeing them, basically, right? Because
Cool.
I know what they can do, so I don't like to give them anything too specific. The only reason I'll give them something a very specific design is if it's story related, where it has to be like this, right?
Mm,
Which is rare. Mostly they send stuff, and you're like, oh my god, yeah, use that. So yeah, Marco's the way he interpreted how that sequence went, like yeah, I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
cool.
The way he interpreted the conversation with the Guardians was, it could not have been better. It made me feel like, when they used to release all those old Star Wars design books, Ralph
Yeah.
McQuarrie. It was kind of like watching a movie to me when I would get these things back, because his style is so tight and almost, it's not quite realistic, but it's almost realistic. So like like he doesn't draw photos of real actors or anything, but you could see people being these characters. And I was like, literally, look at my face, was like that every page. The guy is a beast. Like he's just a beast. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. He reminds me of a modern day Alan Davis
Yeah,
in
and
many
we
ways.
could, yeah, and that's where, by the way, our fabulous cover artists, Mr. Chang and Mr. Hitch,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and Mr. Hitch started out as basically an Alan Davis clone. I think Alan Davis is the top. Like he's an unsung hero to me. Like you can't get better than Alan Davis. So anyway, I have a type. It turns out I have a type. Um, but
I
yeah,
see it.
Marco's a perfect fit for this book. I hope, if nothing else, he will be, as he seems like he's proud of the art that he's
He is.
doing, because he's
Yeah.
showing the pencils. I hope he can use this as a stepping stone to greatness. Like I think Marco's just one of those people that people are going to remember later. Like he's great.
Yeah, when I spoke to him, he had just posted a picture of him with a Green Lantern ring, and he said it was reference, and I was like, "Are you working with Geoff Thorne?"
Yeah, I love that guy. He is a madman. Oh my god! But like even like Alex Sinclair, he's crushing. Like that, the pencils on the hologram sequence, when you get back the colors as well, because the colors could overwhelm or underwhelm, and all of it is just, they're just like, it's like working on like a you're like joining a race car team, and they've been winning races without you, and you're the driver now. And like, trust me, kid, the car's going to be great. All you got to do is drive. You know, that's how I feel with these guys, and the editorial as well. Like, I know it sounds gussy, but I'm just genuinely surprised that I didn't expect trouble, but like, these guys are all so great. It's too much fun. It's like, it's just too much fun.
Is there any word on how you're going to deal with the fact that Alex Sinclair is now signed with Marvel?
Alex is great, but we're
Yeah.
getting Mike back from Future
Okay.
State, and I loved him.
Cool.
So, like, this is the thing. None of the people that we're swapping out are the people that are coming in or coming back in. So basically, we're getting the Future State team is coming back, right? So, and that's fitting because of the way the story is going to shift in issue 3. There's going to be a lot more focus on John. That's going to be the team that handles that, and Marco and I will be doing all the OA stuff. So the book will sort of do that.
Okay.
But you'll see. It's less complicated than it looks like. It sounds like it is. But yeah, I'm happy to have the original team back. That's what we started with. So, and Alex came in and he knocked it out of the park. And if Marvel wants to give him an exclusive and take him away, I'm never going to get in the way of a man earning a living.
Absolutely.
Like, go have a ball, brother. I will follow you. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I will follow your work.
Yeah, some fans are reading a lot into it, and I'm just like, what if Marvel just offered him more money? I don't know.
Well, look at it like this, right? I don't know. The thing I always stress to everybody, as much as I'd love to meet these guys, I don't know them. All our contact is email, largely because of COVID. But in Marco's case, he's in Italy. So unless there's a convention I go to there or he comes here, the odds are high we'll never actually meet each other. But colorists don't get paid as much as illustrators do.
That's true.
Letterers don't get paid as much as colorists do. So if someone realizes that Alex is stellar and pays him a rate that is better than what he's getting at the current company, I would tell him. It wouldn't even be a matter of, oh, please stay with the book. I know it's more money over there. I would not. I'd be like, dude, you better get over there and earn that money. You better go over there and earn that money.
Yeah.
I would say. So I'm happy for him. I'm going to check out every book he's coloring. People don't remember how much of a contribution the colorist makes.
Yeah.
The colorist and the letter are often just disregarded by the audience, but I don't.
Yeah.
Like these guys,
even the inkers,
men and women. Well, we don't have inkers anymore a lot of the time. Like, but
because it's digital, right?
Yeah, right. But yeah, if you get a great inker, what they used to call them embellishers, right?
Yeah.
In the old days, they used to call them embellishers. But yeah, like everybody on this team is a vital part of the team. I would feel the loss if we weren't getting Mike back, right? Because then it would be an unknown commodity, and would they do it? That would be my only concern. But Mike's, I'm literally right now looking at the PDF for issue 3, and Mike is holding it down fine. We'll be fine.
Cool.
America will be very happy. So yeah.
Let me let me go through the contents, Geoff. You kick off issue 1 with Oa under attack, and John Stewart and Simon Baz, back to back, backing each other up. I know you're a big fan. I know you're a big fan and a writer. So you must know how fans react when they see a red-headed Thanagarian.
What? What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
Next to John Stewart.
Oh yeah, Amira. Well,
Amira Kalan, who later on.
I love Amira Kalan. I love her. She'll be around. I like her. I will not be killing her. Someone else may kill her, but I will not be killing her. I loved her. I love PFL. You can tell they're going to be around. Obviously, we wouldn't give them nice things to say if they weren't going to be. Right. But yeah, that's not an accident. I don't know if I want to call it trolling, but one of the things that bugs me about the way marketing is done in comics is they show you things that the writer might not want you to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like there are story points that I would prefer, for instance, that they had not, like if they had not made such a big deal about the battery getting destroyed, I wouldn't have talked about it at all. But we all knew that was going to happen, whether I was on the book or not. So might as well just lean into it and talk about it as much as I can. I knew based on experience, not my own experience, but as a fan, seeing how they roll the books out, that they were probably going to drop a few pages from the book, you know, before, without dialogue or anything. So I was like, I specifically said, draw her so she looks like this. Like, this is what she looks like. Sorry about it. Because I knew what would happen when people saw those images. But when she shows up and starts talking, she's clearly not Sierra Thal.
Yeah.
Right? So she has none of the same personality traits. She is absolutely not that woman. So we get a visual. Is she John's love interest? So that was, but it's not trolling if you're doing it with good intent. I wasn't doing it to make anyone upset. I was doing it because there's so much speculation and what's going to happen. And, I was also doing the Vixen book at the time.
You were.
We're like, right, people were asking me, are you going to put these two together like in the show? And I was like, everyone knows I love the show and they love John from the show. Why would I duplicate the things that happen in the show? I'm not duplicating the things that happen in the show. I'm not duplicating anything, right? But if you want to think about it like that, please have some imagery, right? If I could have figured a way to make a woman who looked like Vixen in this book, I would have. Trust me, just to freak people out.
Later on, Hal Jordan and John Stewart have a conversation where Hal goes, "Thanagarians, huh?" And John goes, "Yep, every single one." And
they're all the same.
I actually stop reading and I go like,
Well, they're jerks. Every single one of them is a jerk. The only one who's not is Sierra. All the rest of them are jerks. So, I mean, and I feel like one of the fun things about the book is also one of the drawbacks about the Green Lantern mythology. It's something we did try to address in issue 2, or something I was very concerned about when I took over. Why are there so many human Green Lanterns?
Yeah.
Right. But since there are so many human Green Lanterns, they should have some kind of camaraderie. They're the only people in the Corps who really have a common reference point. Even though this isn't, I'm sure this wasn't by intent, but most of the human Green Lanterns are also human American Green Lanterns. So like they have a very they have a very similar sort of conversational base to work from. They can
4 of
speak
them
in
are white.
shorthand. And 4 of them, well, again, these are not my choices. These are the things that were handed to people. So, but because they're handed to you, you have to use them, and you have to start thinking like, well, what would this really be like? You have this intergalactic paramilitary force that you've been sort of conscripted into, and all of a sudden there's 5 other people from your hometown. Okay, well now I'm not by myself. Even if I don't know you that well, I know you better than literally every other person in this organization, right? So they would have little in jokes they might say. They would have a little shorthand that they can use with each other. You'll see that very much between characters in issue 3, that there's a kind of shorthand that the humans have with one another that doesn't exist with the other species. But it's something that needed to be addressed because the reason we have this many human lanterns is editorial. It's not story driven.
Mm-hmm.
It's different eras, different editorial needs, different writers want to do different things. Editors are like, yeah, great, it'll shake up the status quo. And then 15 years later, you've got 7 freaking human Green Lanterns, all roughly the same age. Like
because a writer or an editor will prefer one Green Lantern that's existed before the one that currently exists, and
something like that, right? So even if you didn't have me coming in where I have obviously a bent in favor of John Stewart, even if there are only 3 Green Lanterns, that's still too many from my point of view from Earth.
mm-hmm.
So, but it's not my job to say that's too many. Like if you get told there are 3, then there are 3. If you get told there are 7, then there are 7. Tai Pham is not in continuity. I know people have been talking about that. It's a great story, but the writer took liberties with how Green Lantern rings are passed along and where the timeline would exist. So the only way that very cool character can exist is on an alternate Earth, right?
Which story? I missed it.
What's the name of it? Is it Legacy? Green Lantern Legacy? It's the Asian, I believe his name is
Yeah.
I wanted to use him, but there's no way to slide him into regular continuity. I do have a way of sliding him in, but there's no way to do it until arc 2. So,
Okay.
and that's presuming sales allow me to get to a second arc, which there's no guarantee that that's happening.
It seems like you talk about the Omniverse a lot, so I feel like that might be
that's weird. Looking at the feedback, I didn't think I would be talking about it a lot in the sense of I didn't think anyone would perceive it as a lot. We're just coming off Death Metal, so
Yeah.
like Infinite Frontier Zero. I established, look, we're going in the whole thing of Infinite Frontier Zero was Omniverse. Pardon me. It would be kind of bizarre if the Guardians didn't know that Death Metal had happened. Like the Guardians have to know that happened, right? So
front and center.
So let's just get it out there. Let's have it conversational. Let's have it be a thing that the Guardians just know and are frank about, and then we can get it out of the way. You won't hear Omniverse mentioned very much going. But from my point of view, from the writer, we're literally just coming off of this giant cataclysmic event. We're literally just now, Bendis has done this whole thing with the United Planets, which you and I already talked about. This is what I'm saying. Like, you have a story you want to tell, and the company has done all this stuff, and they look like, here's a box of things you have to use, or here's a box of things you get to use, depending on your point of view. And I'm looking at a lot of complex objects, let's call them objects, and all of them kind of have to be addressed because about half of them just happen. So if I don't address them, the audience is going to be like, well, what happened? Didn't Death Metal didn't we just spend 2 years on death metal? Like, aren't you're not going to reference that at all, right? Or as what has happened, people who are in the know reference it. The characters in the story who would know about it reference it, and some people are like, he's talking about multiverse a lot. I'm like, well, they shuffled the deck, guys. This is a post-crisis, whatever you want to call it now. It's a post-crisis universe again, and some people remember it prior to the crisis. We're going to talk about. These Guardians are the Templar Guardians, sort of plus the Morrison Guardians. They're sort of together.
The Morrison Guardians.
Yeah. I sort of mixed them. I sort of smushed them, both groups together.
He does have that tendency to kind of, do continuity without really doing continuity.
He's Jack Kirby. He does what he wants to do, and they let him. And God bless him, when he hits it out of the park. And if it's a miss, it's still pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
you can still kind of see what he's trying to do.
I'm a big Morrison fan. I don't know how much of, because he's so unique. Sometimes I feel it's like, you know what? Even when you're talking about him specifically, let's say someone said you can use all the Sandman characters in your book. I'd be like, yeah, I won't be doing any of that because that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. I haven't had enough time working with Joe Mullein. Like,
yeah,
there's no freaking way. So it's kind of the same thing with Morrison. He's got a very specific, they have a very specific style.
Right.
They have a very specific approach. Some people call it crazy or psychedelic. I don't have a problem following the work at all.
Me too.
So I don't know what those people are talking about, but I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to copy what they do, because I won't do it as well, even if I tried. So it's better to say, okay, what elements, right? Okay, I can use that. I can use a little bit of that, but I'm not going to really try to keep that whole tapestry intact. I feel like that's off to the left over here, and Parsec is off to the right over here. And if you want to go read those books, they're there for you. I'm not going to damage these characters, right? And maybe even make some reference to some weird event, obscure from those runs, that will force you to go and read those books, because we're in business of selling comic books. So, like, I want everyone to go read Far Sector. I don't want them to find a dissimilar version of Joe. I want them to go, oh, this is that character I liked in the Green Lantern book. Oh, she's got her own 12-issue series. Let me go read that. Like, and the same thing with the Green Lantern that just called, the 2 seasons of Morrison's Green Lantern. You'll notice Hal Jordan is in the book.
Yes.
How
Speaking of Hal Jordan being in the book, one thing that you continually have said to me and other interviewers has been that if you are on Oa in the first 2 issues of the book, you are not safe. Hal Jordan, who people still believe you actively despise him, Hal Jordan is explicitly not on Oa.
I said it. I keep telling you, I never lie. I never ever lie. Hal and Rotlot Fan are the safest Green Lanterns in the series for completely different reasons, right? But more importantly, it's not like, how do I say this right? Again, all of that crap was fans yelling at other fans. All the stuff that people are mad at me about was fans talking about other fans. The minute I'm off the book, it's on again. I'll pull out the same big knives and have exactly the same conversation, and it'll just be tough for anyone who doesn't like it. But Hal is a character in this giant tapestry. He's got a rich history. He's got decades of history to pull from, and alterations have been made to him and other characters in the story as well, that I would be an idiot if I didn't at least check those flavors and see what I can do with them. Mrs. Thorne didn't raise any idiots. So Hal's in the book. He said he would be in the book. And when he shows up, he's going to be recognizable as the Hal Jordan that you expect him to be. He is exactly that dude. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean I don't understand him.
Yeah. People think things like that, but I'm like, for example, right? Like, I am not the biggest fan of Bruce Wayne. But if I had the chance to write the Justice League or something, I'm not gonna
you're gonna write an authentic Batman. You have to. It's
Yeah.
the job. It's the job, right? So, and I don't want any of the people who are fans of their favorite Lantern, right? There's already been some speculation, like, "Where's Jessica? What did you do to Kyle, you bastard?" And I'm like, it's only issue 2. Can we all please just take a breath and read the story?
One panel
Right?
in issue 2.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
it was a significant one. It was a
Significant panel.
Yes, and it was explicitly written, right? Like, some things are artist choice, and some things are very specific. Like, one thing I will say about this book, I've also noticed, I can tell who's reading it, and I can tell who's skimming it and looking at the art by what the criticisms are. Please, if you want to hate the book, you can't hate it accurately if you don't actually read it,
You
because
can't.
there are going to be a bunch of things you miss.
You can hate it if you do read it, though. You're allowed to.
Yeah, you're allowed to hate it, but please do yourself the courtesy, if you want to be able to criticize, at least understand what you're criticizing. So,
I find it interesting the way you talk about the toys that are being given to you, because I feel like that's different from the way a lot of writers express how they have to deal with certain things that editorial gives them. Is this coming from being used to it because you work in animation?
there's probably some of that, but again, one of the things is, this isn't a property I brought to DC and said, like, I wouldn't say I had a bumpier time with Mosaic at Marvel, but Mosaic was mine. So there was a whole bunch of stuff going on at the time at Marvel. There was all these crossover events and things that weren't in place when I sold the book, that became a big deal while I was writing the book. And I kept having conversations with my editor, like, well, we want to use Mosaic to do this. And I'm like, Mosaic wouldn't do that. I don't care about this. Or Mosaic can't do that because at the time in the story that I'm telling the story, it's like a month or a year. It's like 10 months or a year before any of the events happening in the current continuity are happening. So how and why would Mosaic be involved? So we had a lot of those kind of conversations. But I created Mosaic.
Yeah.
With this, I'm stepping into an ongoing party. So it's not really, it would be extremely rude from my point of view to, well, I don't need this Oa and this Mogo guy. I never really understood that. That's out. Um, Alan Scott, he's now the leader of the Green Lantern Corps. Because I always thought he should be. Wait, but he's a different kind. Yeah, I know. We're not doing that. He's just now, we're not going to even explain it. After Death Metal, I can do anything I want, right? Okay, he's now the head Green Lantern, right? I think that would be really rude, right? It just would never occur to me to try something. So, and if you look at it as an opportunity instead of as a chore, you may find
Exactly. Yeah.
fun things to do. Like, there's some stuff I'm going to do with some of the lanterns. I don't even want to hint at that. Just using Simon. Simon was a random choice for the Infinite Frontier.
Yeah.
I needed someone for John to talk to. And I had plans for the other lanterns, and I didn't have any plans for Simon because he's Simon. No one ever has any plans for Simon, right? So I was like, great. Simon's the guy in the ship. And as soon as I started writing him, I was like, no one ever has any plans for Simon.
Ooh.
Right? And that's all it took. That's literally all it took. So we're going to see a very fun version of Simon Day.
Simon and Jessica, right, were created around the same time, but I feel like
Yes,
Jessica definitely.
Yeah, she took off.
Jessica took
People
off.
just loved her.
And
People
Simon,
loved Jessica.
not so much.
Well, we're going to see what we can do about that.
See, that's the thing. I keep saying it when I talk to you. The difference between fans and fans, critics, and writers is where fans see flaws, you guys see opportunity.
Listen, every one of these, if they don't have flaws, for one thing, they're boring as hell. Like, if they're all perfect paragons, then I'm not reading the book. I want them to screw up. I want them to be snappish if they're having a bad day. I want them to feel as much like plausible human beings, not realistic, plausible human beings, as I possibly can, so that when, I don't know, when there's a sun exploding five inches off the panel border, right? The light of that, or a good example is when Kelly looks off panel and says, "Hey, what's going on with the battery?"
Yeah.
Hopefully by that part of the story, you got an idea of who Kelly is, right? So her being a little bit confused by something has more meaning than if it was just some random character in the background going, like, why would I do that, right? So Simon's got a lot of flaws, but they don't have to be, pardon me, those flaws can be flaws. Every human being has flaws, but they're just personality traits. The things that I might find flaws in you, your best friend may think are the best things about you.
It's possible.
Right? I'm not a fan. I'm not necessarily a fan or a detractor of Guy Gardner. Some people like his personality to be extremely bombastic to the point of like, dude, somebody punch this guy in the mouth, right? And then others like it to be something he sort of puts on and builds up for show because he's using it for effect or whatever, right? Or as comedic relief or something like that. All of them are right. It's just in the hands of each writer. What is he doing for the story, right? The trait stays the same, but what does that trait do overall in the story? So Guy's a good example because I didn't think he was going to say much in this. And in issue 2, he talks a bit. He talks
just a little bit.
and
it's to be grumpy.
Expected. Yeah, he's grumpy as well. They keep giving him the shaft. Poor guy. Poor guy. He always gets the crap detail. That's the thing, right? I would be irritated too if every time they made a shuffle, I got screwed in the shuffle.
Like
you'd be single time.
You'd be irritated too if you got that haircut.
Yeah, exactly. Poor guy. Like, so I'm just having a good time with these characters.
Yeah.
I've told everyone, and I guess by the time we get through the end of, I think 5, you guys will, everybody who has a particular fan will know that I'm not here to kill your favorite fan. It doesn't mean I'm not going to hurt them, because I am. I promise you I am. But that's also including John, who in theory is my favorite Lantern. I said, no one is safe.
That's what you're supposed to do, right?
Exactly. Everybody's going to lose some skin. This deck is absolutely getting reshuffled. So it doesn't mean any of it will stick. If sales are crappy, my contract runs out, DC doesn't ask me back, and all my big plans for Arc 2, right? But if sales are good, there are things I've already set up in these first 2 issues that will pay off in Arc 2.
Are sales good?
So far, yes, they're very good. Issue 1 sold very, very well. Thank you very much. And I mean that. Thank you very much. And some of the critics have said that they are both like, what the hell is up with this dude? And like, wow, I'm like really interested to see what's going on next.
Yeah.
Right? And that's my job. I got to make you come back next month.
Yeah, I saw somebody going, Geoff Thorne, you better not screw up Joe Mullein.
No chance. No chance. Oh, Joe, she's delightful. No, none of them are getting screwed up. Okay, Simon and Kelly were my worst. My feeling about Joe was, can I write her as well as her creator wrote? That was my only concern with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I can get her voice right. I already know how to do her, right? And ultimately, there's only really one person who can tell me if I got it right, and that's Nora Jennison, right? I think I'm doing okay. Never going to do it as well as her, but I think I'm doing it okay where I won't embarrass myself every month. But Kelly and Simon were the ones to me that I was like, oh my God, freaking Teen Lantern. What am I going to do with the freaking Teen Lantern? You know, well, she's 11. She's not a teenager. Therefore, she's a liar. Let's go. Right. I mean, seriously.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what I think of how you handled Keli Quintela. Okay. I think you made her annoying as hell.
She is annoying as hell.
And I think that's how she should be.
She's annoying as hell. Dude, come on. She has one of the most powerful weapons in existence under her absolute control.
Mm-hmm.
People have said, why did the Guardians just take the weapon off her? And I'm like, the Guardians aren't cruel like that. Maybe the controllers would have just taken the weapon. But the Guardians aren't built like that. They would like her to voluntarily hand it over because that's the reasonable thing to do. Of course, we'll give it back once we're finished with it, but that might take 100 years. We don't tell you that because we're immortal, but we'll give it back eventually, right? And she's like, nope, come try and take it off me. And the reason nobody wants to do that is no one knows exactly what will happen if they try to take it off her. Not that they're scared of it, but because they don't understand it, nobody wants this child to have a fucking tantrum.
Of course.
Sorry. Right? No one wants a child who can use an atomic bomb to have a tantrum for any reason. So everyone's sort of like, okay, we can do this. We can slow walk this. There's no rush. She's on the side of the angels. He's not trying to be a villain. Right? So let's everybody, what John says, let's everybody all just calm down.
Also,
right?
no need to apologize. You already cursed out Marco earlier.
I'm sorry, Marco's just awesome. That guy's awesome. So yeah,
but yeah. Also, imagine if you're a bunch of adults with all of this detail that you gotta pay attention to, and all of these tasks you gotta do, and then there's this annoying little 11-year-old girl like running around.
What's that? What's that? I don't agree with that. Why would you do that? I'm not wearing that. I'm not eating this. This is not what I asked. Like she's like, it's annoying. Plus, where's your parental supervision? She didn't come with a chaperone. She came by herself. Like, what the hell? So, and by the way, none of these things are accidents. A lot of the questions that people are asking in the, like, why would they do this? Or how come they, like, you're right. Why would they?
Yeah.
Why would someone do this?
We've all experienced being in an office and then somebody brings their kid, right? It's nobody actually likes it.
Right. And who let the Green Lanterns take this 11-year-old to another planet?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
So
and another part where I say you're clearly a big fan is even I did not remember that John Stewart used to be a Guardian of the Universe. So you pulling out all those little details, I thought
it's a big deal. It's a big deal. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to miss, though. I mean, we've got 50 years, and not just about John. I mean, we have decades and decades of Green Lantern stuff. Even the most recent stuff, there's so much stuff. I feel like I got a comprehensive knowledge of the Green Lanterns, but I'm sure that I've used people that were supposed to be dead have showed up in the background and shots. It's like, oh, I thought that person got killed in a supernova in 1965. Like, maybe? I don't know. Death metal. Right? Death metal brought them all back. But I think hopefully that will be kept to a minimum, and that the story will be interesting enough that I can be forgiven for. I will make fewer errors of that kind going forward, and hopefully the story will be interesting enough that people will forgive them and make back.
It's the dead guy's twin from that planet.
Yeah, it's his little brother, Tomar 3. It's Tomar 3, right? Don't think I won't do that. You think I'm kidding? I will do that.
Tomar Ray, Tomar me.
Tomar you, Tomar they. Exactly. But here's the thing. After issue 2, it's all moot anyway. Almost all the Green Lanterns are dead. So everyone who was alive on page 3 is dead by page 30.
Isn't that crazy? You set up a status quo and then blew up the new status quo.
Yeah,
but
funny.
You speaking of being a big fan, you bring in Gem World, you bring in all of these planets that are familiar to fans of the Legion of Superheroes, like and the Titans, of course, Bismol, Daxam, Hecreus, Kolu. How do you balance out, writing for longtime fans and writing for anybody who might be picking this up as their first comic?
Well, that's a hard one, because I've literally read people say both things. Some people who've never read it before, like, I never thought about reading Green Lantern before, picked this book up and now I'm in. And other people are like, I've read Green Lantern for a million years. I liked it, but I don't know if any new kids are going to be able to understand any of this, and everything in between. I guess part of the reason of doing the deep dive on all of that lore is for people like us, right? Like the things that you're listing out, I've seen a couple of the other analysis, right? And they're like, oh, he did this, and this came out of this comic book, and this came from this run, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yes, that's true. And you're not even catching everything, right? Part of
you don't have to. You don't have to.
You don't need it for the story.
Yeah,
exactly. But when we get to the end of this arc, some of that stuff will be more meaningful than it was just as a collector. Right now it's all fun. Oh, I know what that planet is, and like that kind of stuff. But when you get to the end of the run, not all of it, maybe not even most of it, some of those things are going to be extremely important. So I feel like I'm just writing a novel that involves the Green Lantern Corps, and I
Yeah.
hope my responsibility is to tell a good story. So theoretically, every issue is somebody's first issue. You know, if it's really doing well, it sells out, and you can't get issues 1 and 2. Issue 3, you've heard so much. Everyone's told you it's so great, but I can't get issues 1 and 2. I got to grab issue 3. Will I be lost? No. You could pick it up at issue 3 and keep going. You'll be very happy to see what happened, but you don't need it. And if I can keep that trend throughout, then I feel like I'm serving the new as well as the old.
Yeah, I think that the way that you wrote it, I don't, for example, like I don't think I need to know what Bismol is when Bismol says Bismol votes to accept. But
Right.
it's great that I know what Bismol is, because that is like, theoretically and potentially the greatest world in fictional history where everybody eats stuff.
Eat everything. We eat everything and we never get fat. But who wouldn't want to live on Bismol?
But yeah,
Right.
my attitude towards this whole thing is, I don't know if you remember that episode of Avatar, actually, where uh Aang is looking for a firebending teacher, and
Oh
then
yeah.
yeah, Katara says we got to go find Jong Jong, and Toph just
Yeah.
goes, "Who's wait, no, if it's important, I'll find out."
Right. Exactly. If it's important. I love Toph, by the way.
Yeah.
Somebody, it's fun watching. Here we go. See, you shouldn't have mentioned Avatar. Um, on my Twitter feed, every once in a while, someone will just discover the Avatar universe, right? And then also someone will just discover the Korra universe. And then within the Korra universe, someone will discover Lin Bei Fong. And literally, you will watch them go, "Who is this queen? Where did she come from?" And I'm like, "It is all about Lin Bei Fong, baby." You know.
Yeah.
Uh, oh my God! So like the whole Bei Fong family, they are aces with me. I love them.
Absolutely.
They're my favorite. But yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, hopefully you're writing a textured book, right? You're
Yeah.
writing so that, I mean, they put an age number on it. I forget what it is, but I think it's 13 plus. I don't think an 8-year-old will. I
At
mean,
all.
maybe a precocious one will have a good time with it, but mostly not. There's a lot of writing. There's a lot of reading. There's not a lot of smashing things. Um, it's not as action packed as maybe some would like. Although I feel like it's pretty action packed
I
so
think I
far.
think it's pretty action packed. I
But
think it's pretty action packed.
it's pretty cosmic and action packed so far. But a child probably wouldn't go for it. It's a little bit too grown up for a younger kid. But I think, I mean, I'm trying. I don't know. I'm trying to make it accessible.
Yeah.
I feel like the Easter egg stuff is for old people. It's for the people who really know the deep lore to argue about. And I've watched people try to put together things like, okay, well, mention this. This came from here, and you didn't say anything about the connecting point. So is that significant? And I'm like, you're doing exactly what you should be doing. That's exactly what you should be doing if you can see
Exactly.
the Easter egg, right? And if
Exactly.
you can't, you shouldn't miss them.
Yeah, I mean, people are talking about these things like, make it new reader friendly and everything. I started reading comics in the 80s, and they were always referencing issues. And it wasn't as easy back then to find out what happened in a particular issue.
No, you had to dive for those back order. You had to go for the bins. If the editor didn't put as seen in issue 347 or blah, 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 if they didn't do that, you were on your own. You had to have a good rapport with your comic book shop owner and say, can I have access to the back bins? And God forbid the story being referenced isn't actually a Green Lantern story. It's a Justice League story. But you don't know that, right? So you're looking in the wrong place anyway, right? you know,
And that brings me to the fact that we've mentioned this the last time, the fact that your Green Lantern is is branching out into the cosmic side of the DC universe in a way that I feel it always should have. Um, the fact that it's now exploring the United Planets, as well as making references to the fourth world and Earth becoming the fifth world. I
that's a
feel like that.
Morrison thing, by the way.
I feel like that's been, that's been owned by the Superman office for so long.
I don't know how they have it broken down now. I will say this. Brian Bendis was very gracious. He contacted me after the issue one came in. He was just like, you know, thanks for using Kelly. Well, I said I promised not to kill her
Right away.
right away. But I have asked him a couple of questions that I won't say what the questions were because it'll tell you too much. But like, if are you doing this in your book? I'm doing this in my book. If this happens here, and I do this, are they going to be in conflict? that kind of thing. I don't feel any pushback from whatever the Superman office is doing. I don't feel that DC is structured the way it used to be. I think, based on what we all know from the outside, that was what Eddie Berganza was in charge of Superman for like a million years, and
Eh.
apparently he ran it like a little kingdom.
Mm.
So, I mean, yeah, whatever with all the
Yeah.
other shit. That's just horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're not talking about that. We're literally just talking about how the internal operations work. And the Superman office, you know, had a lot of the big dogs in it, and it had Superman. So they could do whatever they wanted, and they knew it, and they flexed. I feel like this team is much more what's going on with the whole line. What are we trying to do with the entire line? How does this fit into this thing? And by the way, I don't know. Like, I've been reading about some big crisis event that's supposedly coming in 2 years. Like, news to me. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
It's okay. John is
So,
all the way on the other side of the
yeah,
on the other
John,
side of the
whatever that
galaxy.
is, John's gonna be way over here anyway, so he's safe from that, whatever the hell it is. Can't speak for Joe, and the rest of them are in the middle, but John is absolutely safe over here. But yeah, so I think it's a very, everyone's trying to be synergistic at the editorial level, I think.
Yeah.
And my inclination is to reach out to other writers who, if our work is going to, I don't want anyone clashing. I don't want
Yeah.
anyone getting mad. I would rather get out in front of it if something shows. And a lot of the news that you guys get, I'm getting it the same way. Like, if I'm not writing the book, I'm just a guy in the audience. It's not like there's no bullpen. We're not like sitting in, like, there's no J. Jonah Jameson that comes in and goes, all right, Thorne, what are you doing with Green Lantern? Bendis, get over here. You need to sit it. It's not like that. Right. So if I don't ask about it, odds are high I won't hear about it.
You just killed my illusions there, Geoff.
Sorry, guys. It ain't like that. That was 1963. It ain't like that no more. So yeah, I learned from the news media, I would say, about not exactly as much, because I'll try something and my editor will go, oh, no, so-and-so's doing this. You can't do that. Right.
Yeah.
That's how I'll find out if I'm going to cross a line. But sometimes I'll wish to do something, and before I even try it, I'll be like, look, this is a big swing. We know Justice League is doing sort of something over here. Doesn't really connect. But if I do this, it might influence that. Maybe ask them what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they tell you. They don't tell you, back off, it's a Justice League. They're like, there's none of that. It's very easy. It's been very easy so far.
And so I assume also that means you're working with Tom Taylor, because you're coordinating with Tom Taylor, at least. No? Because he's doing that new Superman book with Jonathan Kent, and I would have assumed that had something to do with the United Planets.
Not for this arc. That aspect of the United Planets is not relevant.
Okay.
So basically, I don't know that I'm talking out of school. Let me think of what's been announced. Okay. Joe has just arrived at the end of, the power battery blew up. She did not witness the event. She's seeing this aftermath of basically 9/11. She just came home and I was in a coma. I woke up, 9/11 already happened, like last night. Like, that's basically who she is right now. She's that person. And always a place of devastation. So the basic natural workings of the United Planets, which, if we had not blown up the battery, that's probably largely what the book would have been about. Green Lantern's having adventures, plus what's all this, government crap? Who wants to read about that? I would have got a lot of that. But
I found it interesting.
I know, right? But in this case, that's all pushed off to the side while we figure out what the hell happened to these poor Green Lanterns.
Yeah.
And what is this event that happened on Oa? Was it a natural event? Was it some kind of an attack? If it was an attack, who's responsible for it? If they're responsible for it, why are they not claiming credit? What did they think they were getting? If someone's behind it, why would they do this right now? Right? So that's what Joe's basically going to be dealing with. There's not going to be a lot of government intrigue in that regard. It's just going to be, what the hell just happened? Literally, that's the story for Joe. What the hell just happened?
I wanna get back to you talking about having 7 human Green Lanterns, and there are 7 Crux worlds in
5 left.
5 left.
We lost 2.
So what was the how did the idea come about for you to come up with the 7 Crux worlds?
Well, I needed something important for the Lanterns to do. I needed some sort of inside the story reason for why this had occurred, because really, as we just said, it was editorial / creative that just sort of like, I need 2 more lanterns, or I need a lantern to be like this that isn't John or Hal or Hal. I need new ones. And you look up and you're like, it's something as a fan that you see people discussing all the time. It makes no sense. It's illogical. If the Guardians work the way we've been told that they work, why would they keep handing out rings to this one planet? It's not even an important enough planet. Like, there's literally New Krypton is 5 feet from you. Daxam is 5. Why are not all Green Lanterns Daxamites and Kryptonians?
I know. Why aren't
Right?
they?
Like, why are they not all one of those 2 species? Right? But because again, you're dealing with this thing that you're just given. This is a fact. Inside the story, this is a fact. So I have to think why, which means each one of those characters has fans. Kyle was Green Lantern alone for 10 years. He's got a huge fan base. Jessica clearly has a gigantic fan base. I can't give her the shaft. It's not fair. Those fans are like, well, what? Now she's the patent clerk on OA? Why would you do that to poor Jessica? Right? And even though we claim Simon doesn't have any fans, I think that the problem with Simon has been is that people haven't been using him adequately. He's been over-defined by most of the writers. They just haven't found him interesting, and therefore have done very little with him. But we can presume even Simon has some fans out there who are like, oh my God, finally someone's doing something with my favorite character, right? So the Crux Worlds was a great idea for me because it's sort of Kirby-ish. It's very DC-ish because DC is always about legacy and destiny, right? Like, as much as it's about anything else, passing on the mantle. Everyone in DC is the chosen one. Like, every single character is the chosen one for something. You've all been chosen, capital C, for something, right?
All so the Flashes are the chosen one.
Right, we're all the chosen. The Speed Force needs all of you, right?
But only ever in this one city.
Yeah, you all have to live in this one city, and the Marvel family, you stay in Fawcett. That's where we need you. You've been chosen, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of real world reasons why that is nonsense, and whatever. But blah 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 blah. Okay, so the Crux Worlds are why just why are there 7 Green Lanterns? Why is Earth so damned important all the time? Like, everything happens on Earth. Everything happens on Earth. Like, why did Kal-El end up on Earth and not Mars? Like, Mars is right there. He could have been raised by Martians. He could have been the only human on a planet of Martians. John Jones could be his older brother. That's the whole Elseworlds we could just do, right? Why? Well,
someone pick that up and run with it right now.
Yeah, that's free. That's for you all. You're welcome. You're welcome. But why is Dr. Fate? He's a Lord of Order. He's a cosmic force. Why is he a helmet that some random Egyptian gets to put on? Like, you know what I mean? Why are all these mystic forces? Why are all these cosmic forces always centered on Earth? Well, now you freaking know. Earth is Crux World. It's the Crux of Heroes. Of course, it's focused on that. If we had rewound time far enough back and looked at New Genesis, you would have seen a very similar to Earth planet with superheroes on it.
That would have been the Crux of Heroes.
Right, so it would have been the Crux of Heroes, except we didn't need that because we had New Genesis.
Yeah.
It's like the whole Crux mythology needs still to be fully developed out. But basically, there's Crux of Heroes. There's I would call Mogo the Crux of Life.
Okay.
And there are other Cruxes which have yet to be named. I'm calling Oa the Anchor Crux, right? And someone already asked me, I think the Lantern Cast guys asked me this, but it might not have been them. Each universe has a different set of Crux worlds, so it's not always Earth. Like Earth 3 is not the Crux world of its universe.
That makes sense.
Right?
Because they suck.
This Earth is, well, I think that universe even has all their Crux worlds blew up. But that's why it's the evil universe.
It's the evil universe.
Yeah, right. But they're necessary. This cosmos will be broken if all the Crux. We've already lost 2. And you see all the trouble the cosmos is always in. That's partly why. The cosmos is perpetually out of balance because they're missing 2 of its Crux worlds, right? In theory, you could do a story where you see a universe where all of its Crux worlds are always intact. What would that universe be like? Perfect? Maybe it's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm never going to take you there, but someone might. And I needed each letter to have something important to do that would have them not be on Earth. And I didn't want always to be a battle. And I wanted it to be something that another writer could go, well, what is this planet that you just set Jessica Cruz to?
Oishiha.
Oishiha. I don't know. I literally have no idea what's on Oishiha right now. So if some other writer comes in and goes, I would like to define Oishiha, and I'm still writing the book, and they say something cool that I can use, they get to tell that story, and I get to go, oh, that was cool. Now what can I do with it? You know? And so each one of them has something important to do, leaving out John and because Guy needs to be pissed off because he didn't get picked.
Because the Guardians are not going to trust him with a Crux world.
No. He will open a bar.
So
no, Guy. Go be an outrider. That's good for you. So the Crux worlds are that, and they are necessary. And really, it's not like it's public knowledge. The Guardians don't have a big billboard up over each Crux world like, don't come here, it's a Crux world. They just assign a Green Lantern like, if anything else happens in this sector, everything else in this sector is going to shit. Make sure this planet is protected. If you have to make a choice, Earth or this planet, well, Earth is a Crux world, but you know what I mean? Like, if it's Mars or Earth, to hell with Mars. Okay, it has to be Earth. Sorry about it, Martians. Right?
Sorry, John.
Sorry, dude. You're gonna have to hold it down for yourself because it's a Crux world. I don't make the rules. So they would give them a reason to not be on Earth, basically, and not be together all the time, and not be the ones we always focus on. And again, if another writer comes in and goes, let's say, we already know what, is it Ragashun?
Ragashun.
Right. We already know what that looks like from the Omega, or we think we do. Actually, I have some minor plans for that. There's a name discrepancy that was a mistake I made, but I can actually turn that into something interesting. Not a mistake anymore. Now it's on purpose. How did you get internet? Now I did it on purpose.
The no prizes are real.
Right. The no prize is real. You should have taken credit. I'd have given you credit. But nope, I did it on purpose. So we know what that planet kind of looks like and how it feels. If we ever go there, there are stories that are already been told there. Oishia, I just met up. So let's say you want it to be like John Carter, Warlord of Mars on that planet. Well, we sent Jessica Cruz to Oishia. So is she now Jessica Cruz, Warlord of Mars? I don't know. But again, that's for you. Go right. Thank you. You're welcome. Go write that. That's awesome. Go have a good time with that. Right? So some new writer can come in and play with that. And Simon Baz being the guy that got assigned to Oa, what the hell?
Oh man.
Right? But if you think about it, the Guardians are planning on being on Oa.
Of course.
So what were they thinking that Simon would be there for? Right? If we're here and we assigned a Lantern to be the protector of Oa, what would Simon's job have been had the battery not blown up? Well, we'll never know. But they had some plan for him. Right? And with Mogo, I have some very interesting plans for Mogo, but it all depends on, do we get a second arc?
Okay, so Mogo might be in the second arc, not so much the first.
Well, Mogo's an interesting thing because he's already a sentient planet, but he's the Green Lantern planet also. So when the rings died, he loses all the extra crap, but he was still pretty formidable to begin with.
Of course, he's a planet.
Yeah, he is a planet. Some of my thoughts about what that actually means to be a sentient planet. I'll just say this: how much control over his own body does Mogo have? I'm going to throw that out there. I say it's quite a bit.
I always assumed it was complete.
Complete, yes. Let's just leave it at that. We'll revisit that later. And the future state did some stuff that we've already deviated from.
I see. Yeah.
Right? It's not exactly the same as what it was in future state. So that's a clue too.
Like Kelly's location
she wasn't on Mogo when all this stuff went down. So if that story happens, and there's no reason it won't still happen, it's just it's not going to happen exactly that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you got a flavor of what many of the things that could happen. For instance, as far as we know, what happened to Guy, that is currently happening. Right? But that story took place over many, 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 many years. This story may not let that story extend out as far as it did in Future State. In the same way with John, his story took place 14 years in the future. Is DC going to let me write this book for 14 years? Like,
Well,
I somehow doubt it.
let me tell you something else, Geoff. Even if you wrote it for 14 years within the universe, it's not 14 years.
Right. Exactly. It would still only be like a year. So my point is that Future State was fun and it was interesting and irritating and everything it was that everybody, you loved it or you hated it or you were indifferent, but it was a taste. So all of those, almost all of those events will happen in some form or another, but not the way they were presented exactly. Yeah. So
Well, implied in Future State is that John Stewart is going to have a very, very in-depth conversation with Orion at some point. Should we expect that anytime soon? Or
soon? No. The stuff that took place in Future State is 14 years from now. Stuff that's going to take place in this arc is not 14 years from now. So none of that stuff are you going to see.
Okay.
Orion is not showing up. None of those characters are showing up. One of those characters. One of those characters is showing up.
Okay. Here's my another question. This one is a fanboy question. There is a story by Elliot S. Maggin back in the 1970s that basically says if Krypton had not exploded, Kal-El would have been a Green Lantern. And now that Krypton is a Crux world, I was wondering what your take on that is.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's great. I think I have a very large, and it's not workable for this universe theory, but I always felt like as a fan, my feeling was that Krypton was being cultivated. Actually, it does work, so I'm going to kind of keep some version. Krypton was being cultivated to offset the New Gods. The Guardians wanted Krypton to continue, and were interested in continuing, not because of whatever it was the crux of, which is also important, but because the Kryptonians themselves could ultimately one day rival the New Gods, and the New Gods are a big fat pain in the butt. Like even the good New Gods are a pain in the butt. So Darkseid's crew, we need something in the universe to offset them. These Kryptonians look like they're evolving into the right thing. So let's treat it like a garden and get a few billion of these Kryptonians, just in case the New Gods start wilding out. We can, because they don't know they have superpowers.
Yeah.
We know they have superpowers. So as soon as the New Gods start acting like freaks, we'll just grab a couple billion of these Kryptonians, stick them on a yellow sun planet, and flick them at the New Gods as needed. Right? But Krypton blew up.
If only there were another planet that is somewhat like Krypton.
Daxam is not a Crux world. And, well, there's Jakul as well, but that's Zod world, and I don't think we're going to mess with that. But
yeah, you also mentioned Jekyll, Mirg, Graxos 4. I'm like, did he pull out Mirg?
Yes, he did. And it's Green Lantern lore. It's
still
Green Lantern lore. What I'm
like,
doing, y'all.
The last time that was used, it was like Doiby Dickles.
He's still running the place. Doiby's still running or his descendants, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so even like weird little things like the Daxamites. There was a whole thing with the Daxamites where now I guess they're cousins of the Kryptonians, right? That's been retconned where now they're an offshoot of the Kryptonian species. But I thought that was less interesting back in, what was it, this was in the early 90s, I think.
Yeah, that was the early 90s. Yeah.
Crossover.
Oh, yeah, Invasion. Like
right.
That was like 90.
Okay. Right, 1990. In Invasion, the Daxamites were not that. They were just a species who was constantly bioengineering themselves to the point where they had essentially recreated Kryptonians without creating Kryptonians. But they had started out as regular humans, and they just were constantly screwing with their own genome to the point where they were essentially perfect specimens who could fly and do all this stuff. And that's where the lead weakness came from. It was some sort of weird impurity in their process that caused them to have this weakness and not Krypton. Someone retconned it where they were just, they're just Kryptonians. And I'm like, no, it's less interesting than whatever. I'm not in charge. So Daxam is whatever current Daxam is. But yeah, you don't want either them or the Zod people to be anywhere near Green Lantern Ray. You don't want them near anything. Just stay on your stupid planet and leave
Of
people alone.
course.
And
So
the Jacksonites are jerks, right? They don't want, like, they're barely even in the UP. The only reason they even joined the UP was so they could put up a fence around Daxam, like, this planet's off limits, don't come here. Like, don't come here. You don't want any of this.
how I know you can't actually give this away, but what hints can you give us about why the battery blew up?
I think if I give you any hints, you'll guess.
Okay.
Um, since that's such a giant piece of what's about to happen, what the question that is before us is, did it blow up because of some like random cosmic event? Like, the Star Trek answer would be, no one did this. It's just because these ribbons of cosmic energy that we've never heard of before crashed into each other at the wrong moment in time and space. And now we've got to seal the breach. That would be a story one could tell. Or someone did it on purpose.
There's a lot of
The
people.
question would become, that's a lot of people mad at the Guardians, one, but not a lot of people with the juice to do it. Right? You can be mad, but what can you do about it? It's the Guardians of the freaking universe. What are you going to do? Their servants have magic wish rings. So what are you going to do on their home planet? Especially when there's 5,000 of them physically present right then. Like, what do you think you're going to do? Right? So whoever's got enough nerve, essentially, to step up to that fight, I don't know who that is. Is it one person? Is it a group? I don't know. Joe's going to have to figure out which of these things happen, and if someone's responsible, who, and then what to do about it if there's anything that can be done. Like, what if it was Darkseid? What are you going to do about it? Okay, I blew up the battery. I'm Darkseid. What are you going to do about it? Sorry about it. No more batteries.
What happens? So when the power battery, dies, Kyle Rayner is off in space, and he's in trouble.
He's in a lot of trouble.
He's in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
And this is what I don't get about fans. Anybody who doesn't see this as a springboard for a Kyle Rayner setup.
Oh my God, Kyle is in so much.
How long have you been reading comics?
I'm so mad. It's just going to be interesting, horrible things are going to happen to all these people. Like, why would I kill any of my main characters when I can torture them for years?
I know.
You will pray for death, fans of Kyle Rayner. You will pray that I killed him in that issue. Why did you kill him, Geoff? We didn't sign up for this. Like, you guys love him so much. Okay, he's still around.
So how much jumping around are you doing between Oa, what John is doing, and people like Kyle?
What's going on with the it's a, if I want to split it up, it's pretty simple going forward. John's going to have a very specific adventure, and Joe's going to have a very specific mystery. And based on what just happened, there's not going to be a lot or any real communication between ex-Lanterns. Right?
Okay.
Right now, as it stands, Joe's the only person with a working lantern ring. Right? She did the search hundreds of parsecs all around. We saw at least one lantern apparently dead, Kyle. Right?
Apparently
dead. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
He's allegedly killed in space. Yeah, you don't know were those guys rescuing him, or did he look like a snack? I don't know. Like,
Lord knows nobody in comics has ever survived the vacuum of space.
Vacuum of space, right? That whole thing. Yeah. So she's got the mystery, and he's got the adventure. Basically, is how it's going to break down going forward.
But will elements of both arcs play off each other, or will they be distinct?
All I can say to answer that is that this is still one story.
Okay.
Even if it looks like it's not, it's still one story.
So how come Kyle's power ring cuts out and Joe's doesn't? How come everyone's power ring cuts out and Joe's doesn't?
Joe's was created with a unique power ring. Her ring never connected to the battery. Whatever it does on its own. We will discuss some of that going forward. But basically, when she was sent to the far sector, she did not have to check in. She did not have to recharge. Her ring works. She has a full charge. When she uses up the charge, it recharges at some rate on its own. She doesn't do the oath. She doesn't have a battery. It just recharges. So not connected to the main battery, clearly, because it didn't affect her.
The perks of being off the grid.
Yeah, she's living off the land. The way I'm interpreting that is that whichever Guardian gave her that ring, or whichever team of Guardians gave her, it's a prototype. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe in future they had planned for none of the lanterns. Hey, you all get new rings. These rings you don't need to do the oath anymore. Just understand once you deplete your power source, you're going to have to wait 10 hours before it's fully charged again. Like it's better. And no yellow weakness, none of that crap. But you're sitting down for 10 hours if you ever use up all your ring power, right? I don't know that that's exactly what it is, but it's something along those lines. So hers was not connected to the battery, not in the same way, but Kelly's glove is obviously not connected to the battery.
Of course.
So they're the only two with juice right now.
Is Kelly's glove in fact connected to Krona's gauntlet?
Nope. In no way connected to anything on Owen. It is its own unique thing. I have a big thing about heroes being unique. So that sentence that I just said should be the scariest thing anyone who likes comics has ever heard me say. I prefer superheroes to be unique.
And you have a core of 3,600.
Yeah, and I started out with 7,200.
With 7,200.
Now I'm down to about 100. So.
And so,
like heroes to be unique.
With John's mission, it's supposed to have 1,000 Green Lanterns.
Hero started that way, didn't it?
Yeah. How many is he bringing?
I don't want to give. He's got 1,000. Yeah, he's got 1,000 guys with him. I made a point of saying that there was a gap of when climate. Here's what I'm saying about when you have to read what I read.
Yeah.
The next thing, as soon as John leaves, Simon says, "Pretty cool, huh? Just a few seconds in hyperspace, and they're going to be on the other side of the galaxy." If they're leaving the galaxy, we already know that they're not going to be anywhere near this galaxy when they come out of hyperspace. Right? They're going to be off in the dark sectors, which we've established. This is not the geography I made up. I didn't use any fake terms in the context of DC Comics. The Promethean Galaxies exist in continuity. They are the oldest galaxies in the universe that are out by the source wall. They're the last thing you see before you get into the empty space, and then beyond that is the source wall, right? Well, the dark sectors are between known space and the Promethean Galaxies. So no one was paying attention to them until they went dark, because there's nothing really going on out there. Like,
you didn't know, and now you need now you need to know.
No one was paying attention until the barriers went up. Right?
Yeah,
that was essential, right? But then the barriers went up. It's like, why would anyone put barriers up there? Like, what? And we can't get through them? We specifically can't? No, come on, that's nonsense. Go check that out. you go check that out. The question no one is asking is, why did not one of the Guardians go check it out themselves? They're dead. The Guardians are all assholes. You are all expendable. Go do what I told you to do. Lesser being, go do what I told you to do. Oh my God.
I have these powers that you can only channel through rings, but I have them in general. But you know, you go do it. You go do it.
Not like it's going to take 1,000 of you to get through this thing. Maybe it'll take 2 of us to do it. Why didn't 2 of us go check? Didn't cross our minds. You go do it. You go.
She's got this whole speech too about how they don't experience life and death the same way, and then she's still like, well, we're still not going to do it.
Yeah, you're going to do it. That's why we have you. Go do what we told you to do. Right? That's the conversation that they have with John. He's like yelling at him. They're like, this is a voluntary organization. If you don't like it, there's the door. Nobody's mad at you. Nobody begged you to join, and no one's going to be mad if you leave.
And then
they're jerks.
And then when the 1,000 Green Lanterns show up, that whole scene where they're all flying towards John, which is incredible, by the way.
All Marco.
Incredible. And they say, see, we know you, Green Lanterns.
Yeah, we know you. We know who we chose.
Guardians are so smug.
Listen, we're hamsters to them. Okay? People keep like, what are the Guardians? I'm like, on the one hand, they're billions of years old, and you don't want me to treat them like people are mad that a measly magical arrow killed this guardian. He's billions of years old. He's blah, blah. And I'm like, do you understand how alien a person would be if they had lived billions of years? The only people that also live billions of years are their brothers and sisters. Do you love your family that you want to be around them for even 100 years? They've been around each other for billions of years. And then these other guys show up. They think they're intelligent. They're intelligent, maybe at most like a husky, like a monkey. At best, at absolute best, they're in a room full of monkeys. The smartest monkey is not as smart as the dumbest guardian. They're not even in the same, like the Kaluans.
Yeah.
You're still a monkey. You're just monkeys, right? So that plus the fact that they're not. Someone was talking about this, and then it occurred to me. This is years ago. Just on Earth, just in the ocean, there are so many species that are so alien to us.
Yeah.
Like theoretically, an octopus, a whale, a tortoise. Tortoises don't have human level intelligence, but octopi and whales theoretically do. But they live in an environment that's so alien to the one we live in. And the way that they've evolved to live in that environment is so completely different. Like when I was 8, I was like, wait a minute, if whales have to breathe, when do they sleep? Like that's an 8-year-old question. But if they're mammals,
Yeah.
are they just always awake? Because if they go to the bottom, if they stop moving, they
stop
sink and
breathing.
die, right?
Yeah.
Right? No, they turn off half their brains. Their brains are asleep. Half their brain is asleep at some point, right? And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Humans don't do that. That's very alien. Octopi, they're very, very intelligent. Um, they don't have a skeletal structure, and they live in an environment where everything around them is edible, and they're constantly being touched. Like we're theoretically being touched by the air all the time, but as you know, you don't feel the air pressure. Well, everything that lives in the sea must feel the pressure because they have to be able to tell the difference between being near the surface and being near the bottom or they'll die, right? So they can feel it. That's an entirely alien environment. And they can change their shape and its color to the point where they can literally mimic objects. Indistinguishable, not like a freaking chameleon that can only change color. An octopus can look like a rock or flat sand. Like that's some terrifying crap. And that's just on Earth. Now imagine that intelligence being 1 billion years old and deciding it's sort of responsible for the galaxy or the universe. Like I want all the little babies to live and not hurt each other. That's my goal in life. Right? But I'm so alien and I'm so ancient. How do I relate to you? How could I possibly relate to your experience? That's billions of years ago for me when I was living in the ocean and having to eat to sustain myself. The Guardians theoretically just eat cosmic energy, right? Have you ever seen them have a meal? Has anyone ever complained? Like, it's ridiculous, right? They're just these things. So the idea that they would have really, and they say it explicitly, we don't really have anything in common with you.
That's true.
Not on purpose, we just don't. And we don't experience any of this the way you guys do. We look like this, like we are made of matter because we wish to be, because it helps you.
Yeah.
Everything we do is to help you. Someone wrote, and I never thought about it this way myself, but one of the reviewers wrote, the Guardians operate on a macro scale, right? They're thinking 10, 5 moves ahead, probably 100 moves ahead. And they're like, well, this is going to happen. We've extrapolated this event is going to occur. We need these chips in place so that when it does occur, we're ready for it. But of course, that means this sun has to blow up. So do we evacuate all the people that live on this one planet, or do we just call that an acceptable loss?
Mm-hmm.
Depends. Is it Wednesday or Tuesday? Right? That would be pretty horrifying to you and me. Their thought process about who gets to live and who gets to die would be pretty horrifying. That's where I got the idea of some of the people in the United Planets aren't happy with the Guardians. Because of course some people wouldn't be happy with the freaking Guardians. Like, who are you to decide these things? I didn't elect you to anything. Just because you're the oldest, so freaking what? And you're more powerful, that just makes you a bully.
Yeah.
I don't want you to do anything. Leave me alone. If I'm going to burn my hand, let me burn it. I don't want you interfering. You're not my parent. You're not even my parents. Like, who are you? Go away. right? That's a legitimate response to the Guardians and the Green Lantern. They didn't ask for you, didn't call for your freaking help, and we would rather our planet blow up. Leave us alone. What would they do in that case? They would still save the planet.
Yeah, in that case, like I actually thought that same thing because when I was looking at that scene in issue 1 and I saw that Daxam voted to deny, I'm like, of course Daxam would vote to deny.
Of course they would. They don't want any piece of any of this, but they really don't want the Guardians messing with them, you know? And on the other side of that, why in the hell would the Dominators say yes?
Exactly.
Why are the Dominators part of this at all? Like, you know, because it's the United Nations. Everybody has their own agenda, and so there's a stories to be written about the fact that it's not altruism, it's not mutual survival. It's how can I get my goals achieved?
And that's actually a question that I had like in the middle of my list, which we've mostly gone through now, but we skipped that one, which is how much of the world building among these different worlds or where John is going to, or how much of the world building do you have beforehand?
There's a good deal of where the dark sectors are built. They have a very specific purpose and a very specific threat and a very specific population that I know what it is. And I had to go back and forth. There are things that come out of DC's past that are there, and there are a bunch of things I just made up, but which had to fit. And that required editorial to go, I don't know, or, ooh, that's neat, like that. The stuff with Joe, I'm mostly dealing with races that you've already seen. Okay. So the Dominators will be around, the Guardians will be around, the Kaluans, well, one Kaluan. The Kaluans, they only send one because they're only a little bit less arrogant than the freaking Guardians.
Pay a fell.
Yeah, pay a fell's fine. You don't need you don't need two. Two is a lot. Pay is fine. Yeah, you'll be fine with it. And it's not a punishment. It's like that's just how good we are. One Kaluan is plenty for anything. Like we're good. So
you don't need two brainiacs running around yelling at each other.
You don't. And you don't need them. The computing power, you're never going to have a problem that requires two Kaluans. There's nothing that you're going to have to figure out that it's going to stump one of us enough to ask for help from another one of us. That's never happened. Right? So we'll see them. There'll probably be some random made-up aliens just because I like to watch Marco make up aliens. Like, just like, here's some rando aliens, they can do this, have a ball. Right? Same thing with
Dexter.
Like, there's a couple of with Dexter for sure, but Tom's coming back.
Yeah.
So you're going to meet a bunch of new aliens that Tom's going to be drawing. So
cool.
I have what they are in my head, but what they look like will be him. So the United Planets is the United Planets. It's the infant version of what you expect it to be from what exists in the DCU. So I don't know that you'll get any shocking revelations in terms of new species in that regard, because there's so many species that barely ever get used. Like already people are like, you just made that up. I'm like, no, I really did. No, I didn't.
No. No, you didn't.
No, I really didn't.
I'm like, even the names I didn't recognize, I was like, that kind of sounds familiar. And then and here's a tip to anybody watching this. Google is your friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's easier than ever now to find out the background of stuff.
And it should be a little clue to people if I did make, like, if you can't find an alien race, if I make a point of mentioning them, they might be important.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to point out one last thing before I move on to my very last question, which is, you named 7 human Green Lanterns, and I was going Hal, Kyle, John, Guy, Simon, Jessica. Who's the 7th? Is it Alan? And then I never realized it was Joe.
Joe, right? It's Joe.
I'm like, it can't be Alan. He's not.
It's not Alan. It's Joe. It's Joe.
Okay.
Our friend Joe. Turner. She's number 7. Lucky number 7.
I got so. Wait, 2 last questions. Number 1, what is up with a guy in white?
What is up with him? I don't know.
I know you don't do things without a purpose.
There's nothing without a purpose. Nothing without a purpose. The guy in white
Unnamed. I feel like that's on purpose too.
Oh, he's got a name, all right. Um, I don't know what I can tell you about him. He's clearly important.
Mm-hmm. Important enough that you did the design for him yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what I can tell you about
Are
him.
there hints on his costume about what he should
No, there's
be?
nothing.
Or...
There's nothing in that part of the design that should tell you anything. See, my nature as a fan is to try and give you clues to show you how clever I think I am. But in reality, if I tell you too much, you'll figure it out, and I don't want you. So um, he's important, or I wouldn't have done that. Like that was the one panel, his introduction,
Yeah.
that me and Mike Cotton went round and round with, because the design that we ended up with on what he looks like, it was basically the same, but there were little elements in the design that we kept moving around, taking out, putting things back in. Like, if we show this, won't they just guess? And I'm like, well, we don't want them to guess right now, so we need to do something else, right? So, but nothing's random. I keep saying that. There's not a wasted word. There's not a wasted shot.
Let the speculation begin.
Yeah, let the
Everyone.
speculation commence. Let me put it to you like this: people, there's been some snarkiness about what the hell did I think I was doing in Future State? Future State works as a primer for how Geoff Thorne thinks when he's writing.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say to you, there's still people, I can tell they didn't read Future State,
Yeah.
who think that the Belu Ken's character was on a space station in orbit around that planet. He was never in orbit. He was
Never.
hanging off of John's belt the entire time in a tiny little space station that was hanging off his belt. Which, if you go back at the end of issue 2 when that gets revealed, and you go, if you go back to issue 1, you'll see that thing you thought was a lightsaber is actually that space station that was hanging off his belt. So, in the same way with this story, no word is wasted, no shot is wasted.
Exactly.
Everything you see and read has value.
And
everything anyone says has value.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, if anybody reading Future State is familiar with Imsk, the planet, you kind of know what's coming.
It's a giant clue if you know what's coming.
But let me tell you, if I were a younger reader and that's the first time I've heard of it and I see the payoff, I'm like, my reaction would have been, what is this planet Imsk?
What the hell? Yeah, and, but Google's your freaking friend. Go Google it.
And where can I find more of it?
Exactly, right? Like, there's a fun thing with these things. It's you can either look at it like there's all this continuity and it's all this weight on you, right? How will I ever move under the weight of all of these years of different stories, right? But the other way to look at it is look at this giant lexicon of random things that sometimes it only existed in one story in 1976. And if you stumble upon it while you're doing a deep dive and you check, has anyone ever used these guys? What guys? That tells me everything I need to know.
Perfect.
Right? And the thing with the magic users, like there were a couple of guys who are mocking me for making up the planet Zero. I'm like, I did not make up the planet Zero. I made up the planet OEC. I did not make up the planet Zero. But that beef that they have about the Starheart is dead center to the origin of the freaking Guardians of the Universe. They actually did what they're mad about. And we've established there's a hope in the future. The Sorcerer's World is a big player in United Planets. Now it's just this planet where magic works right now.
Yeah.
Right? And some of them are pissed off. Magic should be working this way. But you little bastards, you decided there was too much magic in the universe. Who the hell are you? Who told you you got to make that choice? For me, who uses magic to live. Who told you there was too much? So you got to take half of it. You would have taken all of it, is what I'm guessing. If you could have, you would have removed all the magic because it's just so chaotic and you don't like chaos, right? Well, screw you, Guardians of the Universe, and all your little crap servants. They're not villains. I don't think of them as villains. I don't think Iridian is a villain. I think of her as a person with a real serious axe to grind who's pretty ruthless about what she feels like she needs to do about it. I like that kind of quote unquote bad guy. I prefer antagonist.
Yeah.
Because the more you hear about what she's pissed off about, the more you might go, she's kind of got a point. I mean, fair, she shouldn't be torturing people to death about it, but the baseline point is real. What are we going to do about that? They have no plan to mess around with Alan Scott, but some other writer now has an entire, or not a whole planet. They're the terrorists. Like if the whole planet was Islam, most Muslims are not terrorists. Like 99% of Muslims are not terrorists, right? But it only takes a few thousand to cause trouble.
Yep.
So Eurydian's people are that few thousand. The rest of the people in Sorcerer's World are not this angry about it. He is.
Yeah.
Her people are, her small little group are. Which means if you're writing an Alan Scott book or a Jade book or an Obsidian book, I just built you a whole set of enemies that you can do whatever the hell you want, because they don't even know where the Starheart is yet. They think the Guardians have it hidden somewhere. It's not. It's Alan Scott is the freaking Starheart, basically.
Alan Scott is the Starheart, and that brings me to my last question. The guy in white sure knows a lot about the Starheart.
He sure knows a lot about a lot.
He knows a lot about a lot, and he looks human, doesn't he?
Sure does.
But okay. Here's my question. The guy in white, he expresses a dissatisfaction as to how the emotional spectrum has been described over the last, ever since.
Forever. Right.
Does this reflect your views on this concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel that they're interesting. We've seen them put to very interesting use, these entities. But the fact is, the only of these supposed emotional spectrum that are actual emotions are fear, rage, and what's the other one? What did I say? Fear, rage, and
hope.
No.
Fear, rage, greed. Greed is not an emotion.
No.
Compassion, love.
You know love. Fear, rage, and love are emotions. None of the others are emotions. None of the others are emotions.
None of the others are emotions. That's true.
So the fact that they've been couched that way is either an error on the part of all the writers have called them that, or
which, knowing you,
or it's something intentional the Guardians did, that they chose to describe them that way for some reason. The Guardians are not nice people. They are good, but they are not nice.
Yeah.
And they are in their own way fairly ruthless about achieving their goals. So again, you can see why some people would not be happy with the Guardians. You see why you've seen point blank Sinestro, as much as he's a complete rat bastard, he has good reason to be irritated with the Guardians, even if you take away the things that he personally selfishly is irritated and say, okay, that's just you being a jerk. He's got a whole bunch of other stuff that's just true that you can be mad about. And the Guardians don't care about any of that. They are just above all that. They're like, I don't know what you're still talking. This is what you're doing. This is what you should be doing. That's the Guardians' whole deal.
I think what prevents Sinestro from reaching that kind of Magneto level type ambiguity is really just that his name is Sinestro.
It's literally in the name. Could you not change your name to something? That's like saying I'm Dark Pond or Evil Man. Evillo.
And he's got that big dastardly mustache too.
Oh my God. Like, God, the Silver Age. You're such adorable. You're so adorable.
I love it.
But even with Sinestro, I'd like to turn. Some people have accused me of doing a Black Adam with Sinestro. No, Sinestro is straight up evil bastard. Like, you don't turn Sinestro into even any kind of a good guy. He's a straight up selfish piece of crap. Right? He's a megalomaniac. He's a fascist. He's all of those things still.
So when he says true things, is it true to cater to his followers, or is it just happen to be true but he doesn't really care about that stuff? He really cares about the personal stuff.
I don't know that we'll explain all of it in this arc, but yes, he was not in charge of New Corridor the last we saw him. His daughter was. Everybody's been saying, where the hell is Ceramic? I'm like, yes, where is she? And he's now in charge. He is, at least right now, playing Planetary ruler, right? There are some of these planets in UP that have hereditary rulers. They're not democracies. They're kings and queens and whatever. He's one of that type. I run my planet. If you want to talk about New Corridor, you just talk to me, and that's it, right? Um, if we ever get to see New Corridor, you will see what that means. If we actually physically go there, you'll see what that means. But he has his reasons for being on this galactic council. He has a reason, and it's an extra reason. It's not an altruistic reason, no matter what he says out loud. Like, well, to my people, I'm just trying to. You can see, you've seen human dictators say this over and over again. I'm doing what I'm doing on behalf of my people. I'm doing all this because my people need this, and they need me to fight for them. I am the lion of my people, right? That's the PR, right? That's the public relations that Sinestro would do. Sinestro has a Sinestro style plan for what he wants to do.
Yeah. How do you feel about that kind of thing? About how fans are like, that guy was actually right, when it's pretty clear that he's using the right stuff to.
Well, I'm not a person of faith, but you know the phrase, the devil can use scripture to his purpose.
Yeah.
Sinestro's name is Sinestro. If he's not the devil, I don't know who is.
Yeah, it's like everybody who's like, Magneto was right, and I'm like, yeah, but he also like kills
Right.
a lot
This
of
is the
people.
problem with people. They say that about Killmonger too. Killmonger was right, and people got mad at me because I said Wanda was right. Right? When she said no more mutants, I got like people dived on me. She's right.
I remember that.
I didn't say yeah, I didn't say that what happened because she was right was the right thing to do about it, but the point was right. Magneto, I think I'm on record. Of people think I don't like Hal Jordan. I literally can't write Magneto. I cannot write Magneto. They've turned some version of Magneto and he's now a hero, right? Or some version of a hero. I can't write him because even though many of the things that he said have been correct, he's a vicious butcher and murderer, a mass murderer.
He's a mass murderer.
He's a genocidal, racist mass murderer. You can't walk that back. So
no,
he can say all the right crap, but he's still a genocidal, racist mass murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with Sinestro. He's saying all the right stuff for the audience that he's speaking to, right? But everything with Sinestro, he's got a plan on 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 a plan. If you think about him as a character, instead of as an antagonist just for Hal Jordan or whoever, he's the one person who's an ex-Green Lantern who's been giving the freaking Guardians fits. He's been
yeah,
giving
all
the
the time.
Fits. Ever since he gave up, we kicked you out, or I gave it up. However you want to interpret it, right? I quit. No, you got fired. I quit. Right? You didn't quit. We fired you. We took the ring from you. I told you to stick it, and then you took the ring from me. Right? Okay, we agree. We took the ring from you. You were fine. Right? But ever since then, he's been, if not the greatest enemy. I mean, now I guess Parallax would be the greatest enemy, but he's been the second greatest enemy they've ever had, and he's just some dude.
Yeah.
He's a guy who got recruited into their ranks. So he's got a plan on 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 a plan. So Sinestro is nothing to screw with. Like, if you think you won, if you think you won with Sinestro, you already lost.
I have one more question, Geoff. I have a fan question that
Okay.
let me try to pull up that fan question.
Okay.
John Stewart, Green Lantern, is all well and good. But what we really want to know is what happened to Officer Wilson's suite on In the Heat of the Night.
Right. That sucks.
He
so
just
bad.
went away and it was never explained. Inquiring minds want to know. This was asked by the Comic Drill 3 weeks ago.
Okay. The real answer to that, I mean, all right, there's a long version that's an answer to that. The short version is I decided I didn't want to be on the show anymore. There was a lot of sort of kerfuffle about that. And what was worked out was I would do half of the season I wanted to go. I just didn't want to come back for the next season. And they said, no, we're going to make you keep working until we're sick of you. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. So I did half of the episodes of the following season, and then I was they knew that I was leaving, so they could have written an exit, torment if they wish to, where it closed the character off. But they had it in their heads that his career won't go well. We'll get him back. We'll do a whole special episode and we'll kill him in that. Which, if you look at your old TV shows, that often happened, right? The character would leave a show and then they go, Billy's coming back for a special episode of, Hawks of Nevada or whatever. And then Billy would die in that episode. It would all be very tragic for the remaining characters. And it was a ratings boost and all that. And I was like, once I'm done with something, I'm done. I won't be back. So thank you. We've worked out a deal. I love my actor friends. This has been a great time, but I need to go over here now. And they did not write me an exit. And then a couple of years later, a couple of seasons later, they hit me up and they're like, so we want to do this episode where you come back and do all this stuff and then you get killed. I'm like, no, I told you I'm not. I told you, you better do it then because I won't be back. And they're like, and I'm like, no, I'm over here now. I'm doing this other thing now. I told you I would be doing this other thing and I'm doing it. Like, here's some more money. I'm like, okay. Here's the problem with Hollywood. Everyone thinks everyone's always negotiating. So if someone says no, what they really mean is pay me more money. Or if someone says no, what they really mean is I'll come back if that guy's not on the show anymore. Or if they say no, they mean something other than just straight up no. Couple that with, for me, I'm pretty easygoing. So most of the time when they'd ask me to do something extra, I was generally not busy. And if I wasn't busy and I had no good reason to say no, I wouldn't. I'd be like, okay. Like,
but
it
you
could be
are,
something really
but you are
like,
busy.
well, yeah, but it'd be time consuming or something
Yeah.
like that, right? And they say, and then every once in a while they'd call you up and you're like, this is my day off. I'm getting ready to get on a plane or I have picnic plans with some girl I'm dating or something, right? Like, yeah, but we need you to do this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's a Saturday on my day off. I can't do that. Here's a whole bunch of money. Yeah, I have these plans that I just told you about. I'm going to go do that. Like, wow, why are you such a stickler and you're negotiating? I'm like, because only one of us is negotiating. I'm not negotiating. As soon as I say no, you might as well stop talking. If I'm saying maybe, keep talking. If I ever give anyone a flat out no, there's no point in continuing. That's the end. No is final. So they did not know that. They thought, like many actors, maybe even most actors,
You're negotiating.
he'll come back. He'll come back for this one thing. We'll pay him a ridiculous amount of money. He'll probably be broke anyway, so he'll be desperate to come back. And then he'll die and he'll know what he lost. I'm sure there was a lot of that. And I was like, no, I told you no. You guys should have come up with an ending for me at the time. I was happy to do it. I would have been. You could have killed me. You could have shot me in the face. I could have become a pimp. You could have done anything you wanted.
But you did not.
And now it's too late. So that's it. It was not really hard feelings in that regard. It was just, I'm over here now. I don't do that anymore. I'm not doing it. Not even for us. Nope.
So is that true? When you walk away from a project, you're done?
Well, there's a difference between walking away from a project and a project being finished. So like, for instance, Green Lantern. Things change at the company level. So we could all be in love right now. Everything could be great. And then for some reason, Warner's or DC, can decide, oh, we want to now do this with the Green Lantern franchise. And they might say, hey, Geoff, we want to do this with the Green Lantern franchise. But if it's too far off what I plan to do, I would say no.
Okay.
So like, let the contract run out. Again, no hard feelings, but that's not really something I'm interested in. Let's just.
But would you
had our time together.
But would you consider that you walking away, or the project not ending?
Yeah, it would just be, we just come to the end of us working together.
So in that scenario, if you were given the opportunity to finish your story, would you come back to that? Okay.
Theoretically, I mean, there's a lot of variables, but basically, if I walk away, I'm walking away.
Okay.
Right? Like if the project is ongoing, and at some point I say, yeah, I'm done. That, by the way, with people too. It's not just projects. It's just, okay, I've had enough now. That's it. I'm done. And everyone has their limit or whatever it is. And then or the nice way to say it, I've said this before. It's a line from When Harry Met Sally. It was sort of paraphrasing. It's that when you realize you're in love with someone and you want to spend the rest of your life with them, you want the rest of your life to start right now. You don't want it to start in a week, right?
Of course.
I thought that was a great way to express that sentiment. And the truth is, I didn't really want to be an actor anymore. So it was a very easy thing to say no to when they came back to me. And then 2 years into my writing career, 3 years into my writing career, they're like, come back and be an actor. I'm like, but I don't really want to do that. Why would I do that? Right? But with things like what we are just talking about, contract jobs come to an end. So it's sort of, it's got a planned ending. I have ideas for what I like. I have not mapped out Arc 2 of Green Lantern because it's no guarantee that I will be asked back to do that.
But you know what it would be in
I have a
broad
general idea
scope.
of the shape of Arc 2. I have the broad strokes of Arc 2 in my head. If sales are good enough and they say yes, you know, Geoff, would you like to do another 9 or 10 issues? Absolutely. Absolutely. But if the sales are bad, Geoff, we're going to hand it off to, you know, Ryan Cady, or Bendis wants to take over and just do the Green Lantern book 2. Okay. No
It's
worries.
a job.
It's not just a job, but it is the job. That is the job. That's part of the job.
Interesting.
So
really professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shocking. Well, people would say it's sort of like you don't care and that you're just sort of a gun for hire, but it isn't that either. There's a space between I made it up and this is my baby, and I don't care, just give me the money and I'll do whatever. Right? I don't do this. I'm never that guy. And these are characters I did not make up. I mean, there are some characters I did make up, but like there are characters that are going to be integral to this story arc that the next writer would be like, I don't care about her. Like, so they'll either ignore them or they'll kill them or they'll make them evil or a monster or something.
Or
and if
anything.
you're not okay with that, or anything, nothing or anything. And if you're not okay with that, it's not a job for you. It's not a job for you.
And you know, the characters that you're creating, it's not like, I assume they're not characters that would work outside of this context, because you always.
That's the thing. That depends on the writer. Another writer could, like, here's a good example.
I just mean outside of the Green Lantern context, not specifically your story.
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
Knows? Let me put it to you like this. Until today, someone was joking around about, someone made a crack about who doesn't always think of crypto with a big heart around it. And I was like, me, I never think of crypto. I don't care about crypto. Why would anyone think of crypto who wasn't forced to think about crypto? And then I was thinking about crypto right after that. And I was like, but you know what would be great? If Jill Thompson did a crypto-focused book.
Oh, wow.
That would be awesome. I would read that book.
So did you tweet that out and then Jill saw it and then send it to the editors?
In fact, I think I added her in it. I don't know her. I do this all the time, man. Like, that's another one. Y'all do that. Have a crypto book written and drawn by Jill Thompson. I will definitely buy it.
I would buy it too. She's great.
Of course you would. It's Jill Thompson and a dog with superpowers. Come on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love this crap. I love comic books, man.
It shows.
You can do anything with this stuff. You can do anything. And there's so many great practitioners. Like, a lot of the time I'm wondering where they are. Like, why? It's not even a question of wouldn't it be cool if. It's like, why am I not seeing more Jill Thompson stuff? Like, shouldn't she have like an army of books out? Maybe she doesn't need to. Maybe she's rich. I don't know. But I would like to see more. Well, that would be a fun book.
I think especially with a lot of artists, you know, comics isn't the only thing they do.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
You know, Jill Thompson designs the gear for some professional wrestlers.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I'm not kidding.
That is the only thing that would make me watch a wrestling episode of
I'm not kidding.
Which characters did she design their uniforms?
You know,
now I have to know.
I'll send that to you because I know she follows a bunch of wrestlers on Instagram, and I know that.
Wait a minute. Jill Thompson follows wrestlers?
Jill Thompson is a massive professional wrestling fan.
I can't even process that information. That means that's literally like you just started speaking binary code to me. I have no idea what you just said. That's insane. I can't even picture that. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's like saying Neil Gaiman is front and center at Tough Guy Championship. Like, what the hell? I can't picture that. What? Here. No one knows. He just comes to every match. Oh my God, Jill Thompson likes wrestling.
Yes,
Jill
she
Thompson likes
does.
wrestling. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to do with that. Scary godmother likes wrestling. What the hell?
I'll try to.
Oh my
I'll send it. I'll send it to you over Twitter.
dude,
I'll send you
I
some of
will
the stuff.
go. I promise you, I will look up clips of that wrestling. This will be the first time in history that I've intentionally watched a wrestling match just to see what the hell Jill Thompson is doing designing those costumes. Oh my
And
God.
I think she's friends with a bunch of them too. So,
Okay, now you just have to stop. I can't. I have to. I have a whole life to live. I cannot process this information from a hospital bed, which is where you'll put me if you keep talking about this. I cannot process this.
that sounds like a good spot to wrap up. How about you give me 2 sentences? How about you give me 2 sentences for the Green Lantern readers to look forward to for John Stewart specifically for the next several issues? No spoilers.
The word lightning. The word lightning will be very important over the next 2 issues. Um, and you might want to pick up your old country western tunes and listen to them a bit.
Okay. Thank you, Geoff Thorne. A pleasure as always.
Those are real clues. Those are actual clues that will have meaning when you read the book.
Is it the word lightning or a word that comes with lightning?
Lightning. The
Okay.
word lightning, the thing lightning.
Mhm.
Lightning is something you will be happy I said that.
Awesome. Thank you, Geoff Thorne. It's a pleasure as always.
No, wait, no, it's not Shazam. Shazam does not make any appearances in the Green Lantern comic.
Maybe. So I know the Legion, though. I mean, lightning. Are there
That's your last
twins?
clue.
Are there
I'm saying
twins
nothing.
involved? Are there twins involved?
Listen to me. The Legion takes place 1,000 years in the future. Everything that we're dealing with happens right now.
But
Okay.
that particular planet is
Winnath
gives
does
way to
have lightning
twins.
beasts. It has lightning beasts. You're not wrong. Okay, that's a guess. That's the guess. You're not.
For the record, Lightning Lad is my favorite Legionnaire.
Who's my favorite? Oh, Ultra Boy.
Working class Superman.
That's my man, Ultra Boy. Rimbor. Rimbor, at least established by Keith Giffen in the 90s, is a planet run by the Mafia. The entire planet is run by the Mafia. Please let me write a book about Rimbor. Please, DC Comics, let me write a book about Rimbor.
I'll tell you the Legion planet that I've always kind of wanted to see built and see how things work. Bismol.
Yeah. I feel like it's a Dr. Seuss type of planet.
Probably. I'm like, how do they have breakfast on Bismol? How do they trade stocks on Bismol?
Like, what do you do when you need an extra room in your house? Do you just eat the wall? Like, what do you do? Like, oh my God.
What's the sewage system like on Bismol?
Oh, wow. See, that you think you're joking, but if this was a grown-up science fiction novel, the sewage from Bismol would be probably a hot commodity in the galaxy. If you think about, all right, we have to go, but this is how my brain works. They can eat anything. Not literally anything, which means their digestive systems have to be insane, which means whatever they excrete, what is that? It's either so insanely pure or so insanely toxic that somebody would want it. Like, that could be their major export, is their own excrement.
See, here's Geoff Thorne, everyone, just planting ideas out there for you guys.
That's for you. That's for you. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. That's for you.
Somebody write that Bismol comic.
Go play with that. That's Bismol. You know, they probably get sued by Pepto-Bismol.
Thank you so much, Geoff. This was awesome.
Dude, always a pleasure. So look, let's reconvene after. This is 2, 3, 4. What happened?
You got it.
After 4 or 5, let's get back together.
Awesome.
You decide. Right? You decide. Oh no, definitely after 5. After 20.
Okay. Let's do this after 5 again. See you,
right, brother.
Jeff. Take care.
Later, man.